Welcome to A Taste of AZ podcast. Before we get into today's episode, we want to announce that A Taste of AZ magazine will be switching to a paid subscription starting on January 1st, 2024. Until then, you can visit us at atasteofaz.com/subscribe and name your price for the entire 2024 magazine year. You'll get 4 issues for whatever price you decide, and they will each arrive at the beginning of the quarter. With that said, don't forget to subscribe to our email newsletter, and let's jump into today's episode. Well, hello, A Taste of AZ listeners. We are here today at a very special place, and before I try and summarize it, I'm just going to defer to our guests today to introduce themselves and tell us where exactly we are.
My name is Calvin Arnold. I'm the National Sales Director for Caduceus, Cellars, and Merkin Vineyards. Right now, we are sitting on our latest endeavor. This project is going to open on October 6th. This is the Merkin Vineyards Winery and Trattoria. Also adjacent to that is the Caduceus Cellars Hilltop facility and VSC room, which is actually where we're sitting right now, the VSC Ventura room. Yeah. And then down at the bottom of the hill is going to be the Merkin Vineyards Trattoria and Pocket Park.
Oh, Pocket Park?
The Pocket Park.
What is a Pocket Park?
So the Pocket Park, just right down there in that little corner behind the Tavern Restaurant, just off of the main strip in Old Town. That's going to be a nice spot where people can come by. We're going to have gelato production right there, and that's where you're going to get access to the tram, the hilltop tram that goes from the bottom of the hill in Old Town all the way up to the top of the hill where we are now.
Yeah.
And for those unfamiliar with the area, we've been here in historic Old Town Cottonwood for the last 24 plus hours, and this is one of my favorite places in Arizona. There's so much good food and drink, and so much of it is local. But you guys have a footprint that extends beyond just Cottonwood. If you could, give us a little background of what you have going on here outside of your new development and then elsewhere in the Verde Valley.
Well, a little history on our brand in general is Caduceus, Cellars, and Merkin Vineyards are a family-owned winery. Our owner and winemaker, Maynard Keenan, moved here in 1995. Started planting grapes in 1999, and his first vintage was 2004. From 2004 to 2009, figuring out exactly what grapes wanted to be here, we did source some fruit from California, but after 2009, really a big focus on the Southwest. So for a few years, it was dominantly Arizona with a little bit of some supplemental grapes coming out of New Mexico. And we're proud to say that after 2014, no more grapes from New Mexico. We're all 100% Arizona.
Wow.
But we have a large vineyard in southern Arizona called the Buell Memorial Vineyard, which is about an hour east of Tucson, located in Wilcox. And then we have several vineyards up here in the Verde Valley, ranging in elevation from 33 all the way up to 4,900 feet. So pretty decent-sized footprint when you start looking at Jerome, Cornville, Clarkdale, all the things that we're doing here in the Verde Valley.
Yeah.
And I've had actually a kind of a unique perspective. So we did a photo shoot at Cove Mesa Vineyards up in Cornville. Must have been, maybe 6 months to a year ago. And while we were up there, the winemaker, Emil, pointed out that you can actually see one of your guys' I think it's Elefante.
Right.
You can see that from Cornville. And then where we're sitting now, you can see up in Jerome some more of your guys' spots. It really is pretty incredible how much of the Verde Valley you guys have covered.
Yeah. It does. I mean, with grape growing and winemaking is really kind of making an impact on our community and kind of where we live. And we like the looks of it. We think it's beautiful. When you come up here and look at us on the hilltop, we have a 4.5 acre vineyard here on site. So to kind of put it in perspective, Old Town Cottonwood has a little walking area, 2 or 3 blocks, and at the end of the block is where you see where we are now. And so there's going to be places where people can actually see the vineyards.
Yeah.
For so long, our brand was somewhat private. A lot of our vineyard sites, we have people who live on those sites, and so we couldn't exactly do tours or really kind of pull the curtain back on our growing practices and farming practices where people could see. Like you said, in Cornville, you could see Elefante, but you could see it from a distance, whereas now we're really excited to be able to show people the process as far as the grape growing, the winemaking techniques, and all the other things that we do firsthand.
And it's my understanding that the various Merkin and Caduceus brands are kind of some of the pioneers in Verde Valley winemaking. Would you agree with that?
Absolutely. I mean, there have been folks, even across our whole state. There's been a couple of false starts when it comes to all the way back to Prohibition, things that have pushed us back along the way. But there have been some folks who've laid some groundwork, and for us, we've just persevered and kind of trudged through everything from hail to frost and some of the other things that we deal with. But yeah, we've been able to manage and take this wine, these products that we create here in the Verde Valley, and now we're looking at getting them around the world. We have our wines in Australia, Tasmania, throughout Europe,
Nice.
several provinces in Canada.
Yeah.
And so what we're doing is we're really working on building a region here.
Yeah.
Chef, I'd like to kick over to you for a little bit. So you've been at the Merkin Osteria here on Main Street, Cottonwood, for how long?
Since we opened. Before we opened, we started working on the breads, the pastas, all the fresh stuff. So 7 years ish.
Yeah.
And so what is the next phase for that building and whatever concept you guys might be having in there? Is that decided yet?
We have some things that are going to be coming up. An exciting concept that I guess we'll wait and talk about that a little
Okay.
bit, a little closer
different
to.
time.
Yeah, that one's it's in the wraps.
Well, so
Yeah.
then instead of going that direction, let me ask you, what is kind of like the mentality of the cooking at the Osteria and kind of throughout all the projects you've done with the brand?
So what we're trying to do is bring that experience, Arizona experience, farm to table, farm to fork experience. And, we're fortunate we have the orchards, we have the greenhouses, we have the outdoor gardens. So we're able to grow our own produce, our own, fruits, vegetables, mushrooms and whatnot, and bring it back into our places and tell a little bit more, of our story with our ingredients. As far as we tell it with the wine, now we tell it with our produce and our all our items, our breads, our pastas, everything handmade, homemade, from scratch,
And so it's my understanding that your guys is like the scale that you do it at is pretty impressive, being that the restaurant is the focus, right? Like obviously with the winery, that is a farm, but it's not like you're growing, on large scale, all of these things to sell as a product outside of the restaurant. What does it look like in execution? Where are these greenhouses? How large are they? And what is the variety of things growing in them?
Today, where we're at right now, like 20 yards over, we have a 18 by 75 greenhouse, which is it's under construction now. It's going to be finished soon. In Jerome, we have an outdoor garden. Up there, I have spinach, elephant plums.
Elephant plums?
Elephant heart plums, yes.
What is
Green
that?
green
That's
on the
just-
outside, deep red on the inside.
Nice.
Figs, peaches, apricots, apples. As I said, we grow the mushrooms. We have onions, red onions, white onions, yellow onions, squash, zucchini, all the microgreens.
Sounds like a chef's dream.
We
I can see in his eyes.
we have we're growing shishito microgreens, cantaloupe microgreens, basil microgreens, radish microgreens. We're growing potatoes. I'm just trying to think what else garlic. We're growing tomatoes.
I was going to say, you have foraging in your repertoire too? That's how I first heard about you, was from Brett Vibber.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, my buddy Brett.
Yeah.
So and this is the time I want to get up to the mountains and do a little lobster mushroom hunting, and
Nice.
and the same thing going out foraging. Even around here we have little things strategically planted. We have rosemary up here. There's a few different cactuses that grow around here, and
So you've been with the brand obviously for a while. We touched on that a little bit. What do you think it is that makes for such a great synergy between you and everything going on here?
I think everybody's on the same page. Everybody's the same focus. It's like, and it's a good product. It's a good brand. It's it's the mentality of the whole thing. I think, it's the right thing to do. Everybody's trying to do the right thing, and I'm trying to do it through food. They're doing it through wine. We're just, and it all meshes and collaborates. So.
Yeah, well, I've been blessed to have your food before, and the gnocchi is like, whenever somebody knows about this area, they know about the gnocchi, and they're like, that's the best in Arizona. So I would love to see what it's like in creative meetings between all of you guys, because you can tell just walking around this place that things are being done on another level, whether it's trying the food or the wine or seeing this new development.
Mm-hmm.
What is that like between you guys?
If I can real quick, I'm right now I'm in this little production. I'm doing we touched on Elefante, being able to see Elefante and being able to see Judith. So I got some grapes during crush here, and I took those grapes, a little bit from the Judith block and a little bit from the Elefante block. And what I'm doing now is I'm creating a fermentation for the pizza dough. So that'll be the starter that's made with our grapes from our spots, you know. So
meaning like you've pulled the natural yeast from the grapes.
Exactly. So
when
I have a Judith.
Like that,
so I have a Judith block one right now. I have an Elefante block one, and we're gonna see what we could do and put it together, and put it with the pizza, and it'll be our pizza crust.
Absolutely.
That's like the ultimate pairing of food with wine, right? Is like, okay, not only do these go together, they are one, right? In a way. Yeah. I love that.
That's one of the reasons I love seeing, like I'm personally a beer guy, and with food, I typically go for a beer. And, I'm sure you guys are aware that everyone says that wine is the best pairing for food. And I think there's a unique component of that, because when you look at beer, people typically aren't growing their own malts to produce it, or growing their own grains to malt and produce it. Whereas you guys not only are producing the agriculture, but then you're capturing that terroir and then adding a layer of it by grabbing that yeast and adding that terroir, and then another one with all of the ingredients that you're using in the food. To me, there's not really any better example of a way to enjoy Arizona food and beverage, especially with how not only literally central, but to the agricultural component of Arizona, how central the Verde Valley is to that whole system.
For sure.
I think a lot of it is in this kind of shared vision that we have of everybody kind of working toward the same goal and expressing this place where we live. We don't let any resources go to waste. So that's one thing, is to be extremely resourceful. Yeah. A lot of it, when it comes to anything agriculture, grape growing, winemaking, is being good stewards to the grape, good stewards to the land. And, talking about Merkin Vineyards, I mean, we make our winemaker makes wine under 4 different brands. And so when we go in to separate those, I always think of as Merkin Vineyards as kind of our community. Do you know what I mean? Because that particular brand, the foundation is the wine that we do. And then you've got Chris's food. That is just absolutely amazing. Yep. You've got the vineyards. Our gelato production kind of falls under that umbrella. So when I think about a sense of community, I really do. That's, to me, that's more symbiotic with Merkin Vineyards and with that brand.
I like that.
Well, and so you guys also have your location down in Scottsdale. This development doesn't really have an impact on that, correct? Or, I mean, you have your winemaking facility here as well, so maybe it does.
We do. Jim Cunningham down in Scottsdale does an amazing job. And
big shout out to Jim. Jim's the
big
man.
Shout out to Jim. Jim was here yesterday. I was able to hang out with him for a little bit, and kind of show him around. But does an amazing job. Continues kind of preaching the gospel and telling the story of Arizona and what we're doing. For a long time, we only had our tasting room up here, and the primary reason for that was when wine geeks and winos would come to town, they go, okay, you can't grow grapes in Scottsdale. You can't grow grapes in Phoenix. Yeah. What do you mean Arizona wine? And so we did everything we could to get them up here to this elevation so that they could see the hillside, they could see the landscape, and they could see that in these microclimates that we can actually grow grapes and make world-class wine. And so Jim does an excellent job of kind of taking that story and telling the people in Scottsdale, if they're passing through or whatever the reason may be, but letting them know how we're able to do this and send people up this way so that they can see it for themselves.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I was going to say too, like just the products themselves that Maynard's involved with, like the creativity. Obviously, he's a creative, right? Just like last night, like when we went to was it Strata to have a beer and have some gelato, and on the way back it was dark, and we looked up on the hill, and there was that the logo of the man, like I don't even know how he spread out or with his hands out.
The Vitruvian Man.
Yeah, and you're like, whoa, that's kind of trippy. But that's just another depth, another layer into that depth of creativity that's put into these brands, right? You go into, the place in Old Town, and you're just blown away by. You haven't even touched any of the products yet, but just the design and the the artwork on the. It's just, I love it. Like I just love the branding aspect of it.
And I feel like Jerome is such a wonderful place for it to all have started, because it fits the vibe of the different brands. We were just getting a glass of wine in 480 Wineworks. Is that the one we went to?
480 Wineworks, yeah.
Yeah, and that's an awesome location. and it like, you know, it has the records out and things like that. But then just up the way is the Caduceus up there, and then the osteria down here. They all, you know, they're very tied together and it's cohesive, but they each have their own individual character for sure.
Yeah.
They definitely have their own personality, but there's a commonality. There's a common thread that runs to them. And if you haven't checked out the new 4.8 in Old Town Cottonwood, definitely worth checking out.
Yeah,
you know, we've got the 4.8 that's located inside the Pussifer store, but just at the bottom of the hill here, that's, you know, it's been Cottonwood's best kept secret for the last couple of months, and I have a feeling that after October 6th, it's not going to be a secret anymore.
Okay,
it's going to be, because just the vibe in there is it's very relaxed. It's very cool. There's kind of our love for Arizona's on the ceiling.
Okay.
But definitely worth checking out. When you come up, come see us up at the Hilltop, and be sure to check out 4.8 Wineworks, Old Town Cottonwood.
You can hit all of March. You're going to get food. You're going to get alcohol. You're going to get gelato, right?
Everything. That's the perfect arc of a day, right?
It is.
Especially on a little bit of a toasty day like this. But you mentioned before that there's the 4 different brands. It's 4, correct?
Right.
Give me kind of the synopsis of what they are and how they are different from each other.
Sure. So Caduceus Cellars is mostly Northern Arizona fruit, longer aging regimen. Usually 18 to 24 months in cask, barrel, or concrete. So that one's got, you know, a little more age and dominantly Northern Arizona fruit. Merkin Vineyards, like I was talking about, is a little bit more of an umbrella, you know, community, but those particular grapes come from Wilcox, from the Al Buell Memorial Vineyard. And then we have 4.8 Wineworks, which is there's a white, red, rosé, a couple of other exciting things that are, you know, really on the horizon for that brand. But that's an Arizona-only brand at this point. That's one of the things that is like, it's amazing, but you have to come here to get it.
Yeah.
You know, we really want to have something that draws people in like a magnet. And then the last label that we do is the Pussifer Queen Bee label. That's our sparkling canned wines, which are actually being canned downstairs as we speak.
Nice.
So we do a mead, a cider. We do an orange wine in cans. So for beer drinkers, the number one thing I always send people to is the sparkling orange Malvasia. It's the one that's in the black can, and beer drinkers just absolutely gravitate to that wine. It's got that little bit of, it's got that fruit, but it's got that little bit of bitter from where it's been on skin contact. Nice. And it's if you're a beer drinker, that's where you want to go.
I'm going for one of those. I got the rosé yesterday. The Queen Bee rosé was really good. But that what's it called again?
That's the Queen Bee Sparkling Orange Malvasia.
Malvasia. Okay.
Yeah, with those wines, it's like, once again, I mean, I think the idea in the market and in the wine world for so long was just that, you know, cans were kind of an afterthought. But no, these are absolutely made with intention. We do meads under that label, but yeah, those wines are a lot of fun.
Yeah.
How did that component come to be?
As far as the can?
The meads and ciders.
I want to say, if memory serves, it was right around COVID. And our owner and winemaker is a musician and travels quite a bit. And here we were, you know, he was kind of grounded and we were all kind of grounded, and harvest was over, and it's like, well, what else can we ferment?
Yeah.
You know, you know, we're not really brewers. We don't really make beer, but it's like, you know, we still want to continue to tell the story of Arizona, and not everybody's into wine. You know, that's where Chef Smith comes in when it comes to food and kind of presenting that presentation and painting that picture. But Arizona wildflower honey, we experimented with a couple of different types of honey, and we found out that's the one that we kind of settled on. And so that's kind of where we started. We had a meeting with our friends over at Superstition and went through and kind of tasted, you know, a lineup of meads, and kind of kept going back to this simple version, this simple expression of mead. And so what we do is we ferment it down to dry, and then we back sweeten it to about 3% residual sugar, or 3% sugar with, you know, honey, and then put it in a Charmant tank, sparkle it, and throw it in a can. And now we found ourselves pairing it with different things like fried chicken and stuff like that, and it's pretty amazing.
Yeah.
It's really good. Yeah. So we had no idea. We didn't really set out to make mead as prominent as it is, but it's turned out to be one of those you know, happy instances.
Yeah.
So.
Well, I think people were Superstition specifically. People get a taste of good mead. Yeah. Like, okay, wow, this is different, right? This is good. Yeah. It's not the Renaissance Fair, you know, filled with horn, you know. That's what everybody taught. You know, when I remember when we first met, you know, Jeff from Superstition, like he would say that we got a lot of people, you know, they related to this. He's like, but that's not it. And then you taste it, and you're like, wow. Yeah. We went up there for What we even? I don't remember what
It was a video.
Yeah, we did a video for them, and then we went to the tasting room, and he just got us like all of them. I'm like, whoa!
It was like 24 different meats.
Yeah,
I've been through that.
yeah.
I've been through that.
It's
a
fun.
lot of fun. But
it's fun. Yeah, yeah.
That actually changed the way I think about barrel aging. And I wasn't, because like when you drink a barrel aged beer, a lot of the time they have a pretty similar flavor profile where it's just kind of over the top. And some of, like to this day, one of my favorite beer, you already know what it is, I think.
Yeah.
It was Daft Monk. It was a Belgian Tripel aged in white wine barrels.
Okay.
And to this day, I think that's the only beer I've had that's been aged in white wine barrels. And instead of adding like, that bourbon barrel that you get most of the time, it had more, it really played well into the Belgian side of it. And that makes me think about how you mentioned that you guys age in, what do you age in? What are all the things you age in, and how does that affect your wines?
When it comes to like our winemaker style, oak is used more as a spice. And so it's we really want the fruit to shine through. And if you look at our wines, if you look at our alcohols and things like that, there's more restraint than what a lot of people would expect, especially coming from a warm climate. When I go outside of the state, people go, "Oh, you're from Arizona. This is going to be, super heavy and jammy and overripe." And then when they find that it's, 12.5%, 13% alcohol, and it's kind of light and a bit more delicate, they're typically surprised. Not a lot of new oak, mostly neutral French, but for Caduceus, mostly large format bouteille, so casks, puncheons, the larger surface area on those puncheons, kind of the less oak influence you have. And then we have concrete tanks up there as well. When it comes to Caduceus, or when it comes to Merkin, a lot of that will spend time in barrique. But we also, and this is something that you'll see when you come up to the new site, is we now have 6 brand new concrete cubes, and that's where our Chupacabra program is going to live. And what we're trying to do is just make it to where the oak doesn't get in the way of the fruit. Do you know what I mean?
Absolutely. And so with the different sites, are you doing, wines that are just one wine from a specific site? Do they get blended a lot? How does that come together?
In certain cases we do. If you see a wine that has a name on it, for example, Judith, Marzo, Augustina, some of those things, those are
under the Caduceus brand, correct?
Right, under the Caduceus brand. For those, typically it's coming from a vineyard named after that particular person.
Okay.
And so when you see that wine, okay, for example, the Judith block, it's a 2-acre site, 4,900 feet. You know that when you get a bottle of Judith, it came from that site. Same thing with Marzo. Marzo is located over in Cornville. And when you get that bottle of Sangiovese and Cabernet, you know that, okay, this came from that particular site.
That's cool.
There's a few other things, when it comes to like the Merkin Vineyards wines, now what we're doing are site blends. So for example, like the Chupacabra Blanca, the Rosa, and the Red are all site blends off of the Beale Memorial site down in Wilcox.
Okay.
Yeah.
So how much does it change the difference in the grapes when you go from here to Jerome and, up in Cornville? Because they're obviously different ecosystems. I would imagine this is more similar to Jerome, but is it like such a stark difference that it's a completely unique personality?
I think so. Yeah, there have been times in the past we do a series called the Odd and Outlier series, where we do experiments. And so there have been times where we'll take Grenache from southern Arizona and Grenache from northern Arizona, and we compare and contrast them. Sometimes we'll do things like we'll take Grenache from the same site and we'll do whole cluster versus destemmed, and once again kind of compare and contrast. What is, what direction are we going in? What's our next step forward? And so each one of the sites, are northern and southern Arizona, are going to have their own challenges. Jesse Noble, the vineyard manager down in Wilcox, he may deal with a little bit more moisture up here. Chris Turner, the vineyard manager up here, may deal with a little more frost. So each one of them has their own unique set of challenges, and then you're managing 125 acres under vine, and you've got this ripening over here and that ripening over there with all the different varieties that we do, because we still have a lot of varieties planted. A lot of it is figuring out what really wants to be here and what's going to shine. Fortunately, the wine world has come around in the last couple of years where people aren't afraid of things like Picpoul and Counois and stuff like that. So we're able to find what's specific here and not just try to get kind of boxed in with Cabernet and Chardonnay.
And Cornville is obviously a hotbed for vineyards themselves, but are you guys the only vineyard here and in Jerome, being Cottonwood in Jerome?
Well, the college has a site that would technically be considered Clarkdale. But yeah, as far as Cottonwood, I think that's right, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And Maynard was very involved in the school as well, correct?
Correct.
Can you touch a little bit on your guys' relationship with the school?
Sure. So like I was talking about earlier, a lot of our vineyards and vineyard practices in the past have kind of been, in private. And so if ever anybody wanted to come to town and see our vineyards, see our grapes, there's a 1 acre block of Negro Amaro that's right next to the tasting room at the Southwest Wine Center, which I highly suggest anybody coming up to the Verde Valley, please stop by and see the Southwest Wine Center. It's a fully functioning, state-of-the-art student-run winery, and they're doing great things there. But we have that block right there, so if I wanted to show somebody what we're doing with certain things in our farming practices, I would always send them there. But that's an incredible program. It does, once again, that sense of community. It does a lot. It kind of gives us a pool of people to hire from and bring in more resources and help move us forward.
Well, let's get a quick message in, and then we'll jump back to what all is going on here and kind of next steps. We want to announce that A Taste of AZ magazine will be switching to a paid subscription starting on January 1st, 2024. Until then, you can visit us at atasteofaz.com/subscribe and name your price for the entire 2024 magazine year. You'll get 4 issues for whatever price you decide, and they will each arrive at the beginning of the quarter. We've kind of really touched on the diversity of different sites that you guys have, but here, the main thing that's brought us back into town, obviously, is this new development. So, Chef, I'll kind of defer to you. Explain a little bit what is going to be unique about this restaurant and why you're excited for it to open.
Man, all the toys that are in there right now. There's a bunch of toys in there. But what we're going to do is we're going to still take, our pasta program that we had at the Osteria. We're going to bring that up with us, expand that. I want to do, now I want to do stuffed pastas, raviolis, anglinotes, different stuffed pastas. That's going to be one component. But the new thing, and that's going to, everyone will see, is now we'll have I happen to get this wood fire oven from Italy. And so, the wood will be coming this week or early on Monday, and we'll start curing that. But we're going to have a pizza program. I think that, as I said, with that starter from those grapes, we're going to have that. We're going to bring in some, different hot appetizers. We're going to still do salads. We're going to boost that salad program, because we'll have the greenhouse right outside.
Give us all the peace of mind. Is the gnocchi staying on the menu?
Gnocchi, yeah.
Okay.
Gnocchi will be there.
Just
Gnocchi
need to
will
make sure.
Gnocchi will be there. Gnocchi will be there. We're gonna, we're just this place. It's, you see how nice it's we got to elevate our game. So, dessert program is going to be elevated. I have a couple things in mind. Still making bread, still making pasta, everything. At the
Osteria, as it stands right now, people can kind of mosey onto the back and see pasta making taking place. Is it still going to be like that here?
Yeah, that's a little thing too. I forgot to touch. It's a full exhibition kitchen.
Nice.
So you'll see the guys making pasta, the guys doing the pizza, the guys on the line, everybody doing their thing. Full exhibition kitchen.
I'm glad to hear that, because with the way that you guys are doing everything and the level of transparency that you have and having the greenhouses and whatnot, it feels like it would have been a missed opportunity if you didn't. So.
And that's key. That's one of the things we want to showcase. Yeah, we, transparency, we're really doing this. We're really out there picking it. The greenhouse is right outside. You can see the stuff growing. I'm
curious. Pizza is like maybe the most controversial food. Like every time we post about pizza and say this is the best spot, there's always someone's like, no, that place sucks. This place is so much better. What is your ideology when it comes to pizza?
We're just gonna make something good, It's only with love. We're gonna make, we're gonna love it better. So ours is gonna be, We'll see.
I mean, you're going to be picking stuff right outside your door.
We're going to be picking stuff right out there,
incredible.
We're going to be grinding, and, we're not going to be buying sausage. We're going to be grinding that sausage, that basil, the tomato sauce we make that, the mozz we pull it, everything. I don't like to, cut corners or mess around or hide anything or, you know, like cover up something with something else. We have, an old chef of mine told me we have nothing to hide. So, man, it's going to be, all I know, it's going to be good.
And so do you oversee the gelato program as well?
No, that's Kelly Foy.
Okay.
She takes care of the gelato for us.
Okay, and you guys have like an olive oil flavor. Are there any other interesting components of your gelato program?
She's gonna have some tricks up her sleeves.
Nice.
And right now, we don't know. At the bottom, of course, we have the gelato. I don't know if we're gonna do scoops, but we will have the takeout, pints and half pints.
Oh, yeah.
Which you also have at Scottsdale,
Yeah,
right?
we have
Nice.
Scottsdale, our place, the osteria, and also both 4.8s.
Nice.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, well, it's interesting because, you mentioned before the fact that you guys have the Scottsdale component and that being a way to send people up here. This is really kind of a getaway that people are going to obviously be attracted to. And I think, before Old Town Cottonwood had lots of good restaurants and whatnot, but this is kind of, really a true attraction. And you've got the, is it the mini park or the pocket park?
The pocket park,
right?
yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So, is there anything else that you guys want to include information about with this new development?
October 6th. Come see
October
us.
6th.
The day.
Yeah,
That's
it's
the
going to
day,
be
yeah.
great. When it comes to the Verde Valley and coming up and spending time, whether you're coming from Phoenix or coming from outside of the state, we want to try to help people maximize their time here and kind of feel like a part of the community and contribute to the community. So we always invite people to go up to Jerome, hang out, check it out. It's a super cool spot just to go see it. It's an amazing place to be.
Yeah.
The Southwest Wine Center there at Yavapai. Go by, support those students, grab a couple of bottles of wine, tell your friends about it. It's a great spot. If it's a good meeting place, you can call ahead of time and just say, hey, look, we want to come by and see and have people show us around the winery. A bunch of other good producers up here in the Verde Valley. We just want people to come up and just, see everything that we have to offer.
Yeah.
So,
Absolutely. Well, everyone listening, I can't implore you enough. Please go to visit them in Scottsdale so you can get a taste, and then you won't be able to refuse booking a trip up here.
Yeah.
Yes.
And if you need a good place to stay, too, Tavern Hotel is right next door. You can mosey on over there after some wine tasting and some delicious food from you, Chef.
Thank you.
Gentlemen, thank you both so much for sitting down with us. I know you got a lot of things going on right now. I imagine there's probably chaos behind these doors of them trying to
there's a
figure out
line
something.
of people waiting for like signatures and questions and everything. No, this has been great. Thank you guys. It was
for
great
having
to
us.
finally get to meet you both in person. We both chatted, but to meet in person, it's just it deepens my love for this brand and what all you guys are doing. So keep it
thank
up.
you very much. We appreciate it.
Awesome. Cheers, guys.
Thank you.